Story 1. I was an exchange student in Germany during my junior year in high school. Right before I left, I had a job as a cashier at a grocery store. When I first went shopping in Germany, I thought, they get to sit. Why couldn't I do that? The only place that does this in the United States now is Aldi, which is, of course, a German company. Story 2. Public transportation that actually runs on time. I was in Japan and trains were punctual to the second. It made me wonder why we accept maybe as a schedule back home. Story 3. In 1997, I was in Singapore and saw machines that looked like vending machines. They were machines where you would take your empty soda can, put it in a compartment, and lift a handle to crush the can. The crushed can would then drop into the machine. The machine would print out coupons for local businesses. I thought it was genius. I have never seen anything like it anywhere else. Story 4. In some countries, certain parks have basic exercise equipment that is free for anyone to use. It is nothing fancy, and some of the equipment is very rudimentary, such as larger stones attached to a barbell for free weights or a pulley attached to a sack of rocks. I have always thought it would be a great idea. Story 5. More common now is paying for your meal at the table. When we went to Canada, they brought the credit card payment to you. There is no waitress running off with your credit card. Story 6. Italy. Everywhere you look, there are bars that sell cappuccinos, bottled drinks, including alcohol, and ready-made sandwiches ready to be heated on a panini grill, all at very affordable prices. Story 7. Public restroom stalls without gaps between the doors and with minimal or no gaps at the bottoms of the doors. Story 8. In South Korea, there were buttons on the tables to signal you were ready to order or pay. This meant no pushy or hovering wait staff, and they were able to relax when no one needed their help. Story 9. Rigorous requirements to acquire a driver's license. For example, Switzerland requires practical lessons in varying conditions such as snow, darkness, and highway driving, an eye examination, first aid training, and basic awareness of safe following distance. Story 10. A clothes folding device in Spain was given for free when you bought something from this clothing store. I was about 12 years old at the time, and I still use it to this day. Story 11. I came back from Japan. Bidet. Bidet everyone. Even at your local park, there is a bidet in the bathroom. Story 12. 2 years of paid maternity leave. Free healthcare. Zero recidivism after leaving rehabilitation because individuals were provided with housing, employment, a sense of purpose, and community acceptance, which are major factors in preventing relapse. Story 13. Japanese-style solar vending machines provide food and phone charging during disasters. All schools should be specifically designed and located to serve as designated evacuation zones with bunkers and food storage. This approach saves a significant amount of time. Story 14. In Germany, the traffic lights change from green to yellow to red, like they do everywhere else. However, after red, they light up red and yellow together before green. This gives people a head start to get ready to accelerate, and by the time it turns green, they are already moving forward. It bothers me more than it should when traffic lights go directly from red to green in other countries. Story 15. Danish traffic calming features a little zigzag of pretty flowers. In Ireland, there is a massive lump of concrete that threatens to damage the underside of your car. Story 16. I'm from New Zealand, currently in the United States. It's a niche observation, but the glove boxes at the hospital where I work are square and loaded so the cuff comes out first. Only one glove comes out each time. This means you don't have to touch multiple gloves to find a single one, and you don't accidentally pull out 10 at once, which often happens with the rectangular top dispensing glove boxes here and in other countries. This design is much less wasteful. Gloves don't fall on the floor as often and more sanitary. Also, the amber light between red and green in the United Kingdom. Other notable differences include public transport that actually covers extensive areas, which New Zealand lacks, and national health services, even though many are currently underfunded by various governments. Story 17. Garbage disposals. You Americans might not have free healthcare, and you have to pay for your ambulances. Your public transportation is in poor condition, But you do not need to worry about digging up wet food from the bottom of your sink with your hands. Words cannot express how jealous I am of that. Story 18. Traveling in Peru last year, I noticed that each traffic light has a timer. I would love that as a driver, at least here in my hometown in the United States. Story 19. I'm not talking about high speed, bullet, or anything fancy, just regular passenger trains. Trains are rare in New Zealand. Story 20. Braille on money, or at least different sized bills, would help people who are blind know the value of the bill they are holding. Additionally, textured sidewalks can provide guidance and information, such as when approaching a crosswalk. Story 21. In Korea, they have a button on your table in a restaurant. If you need something, you press the button, your table number shows up on a screen by the server station, and they come over to your table. Usually, I just hold up my empty bottle or side dish and make eye contact from across the room, and they smile and bring me another one. Otherwise, the servers do not come by and bother you during the meal. It is much better this way. Story 22. When I saw how good the public transportation systems were in Germany, I was amazed. Why can't we have something like that? Story 23. In European countries, they serve a great beverage called Radler. It is basically beer mixed with lemonade or a citrus soda. It is very refreshing and takes a lot of them to feel intoxicated. Story 24. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in a rural village in Zimbabwe. We had a nurse whom anyone could visit for everyday health concerns. I scratched a bug bite on my foot, and it got infected, so I went to see the nurse. I paid under $1 for a 7-day course of antibiotics that cleared it up. She also kept chickens and grew greens to sell, so she provided me with eggs and vegetables. I wish everyone had a Sister Makoni an easy walk from their house. She had a very limited list of medicines but could help with infections, malaria, birth control, diarrhea, vaccinations, and more. Even though I was not Zimbabwean, I could access their socialized medicine system. Story 25. Seoul has automatic solar-powered shade parasols installed on intersection sidewalks. They shade pedestrians from the hot sun during the summer as they wait to cross the street. They also provide protection from rain during the monsoon season. Additionally, there are heated benches at bus stops to keep people warm in the winter and temporary wind shelters at bus stops as well. Story 26. This was back in 2001, but being able to buy a movie ticket for a specific seat and also to be shown which seats were taken meant you were not surprised with a bunch of people in front of you or right next to you. Story 27. External shutters. Why don't we all have them in the United Kingdom? Everywhere in mainland Europe has them as standard. They are much more efficient at keeping heat and light out. Story 28. I love how many restaurants in the United States have a long bar where single diners can sit. It makes you feel less awkward about dining alone, as you are not taking up a table for two, and you can chat with other solo diners if you choose. Story 29. In Germany, vehicles use only the far left lane for passing. Traffic moves smoothly when there is a lane available for passing, rather than someone cruising along 5 to 10 miles per hour under the speed limit. Story 30. I was in Switzerland in 2001. It was the first time I had ever seen a smart car. It was another 8 years before I saw one in the United States. Zurich feels like being in the future. Story 31. Just got back to the United States after a trip to the United Kingdom and Europe. Things I loved. Bottled water caps that don't easily disconnect from the bottle, so there aren't caps lying around. Many trash bins with separate sections for recycling. Coca-Cola with real sugar, no high fructose corn syrup. Great public transportation. Easy-to-use subway and trains. More concern for the environment, specifically how London decided to stop using coal and just quit. Cashless almost everywhere, with your card never leaving your sight. Probably more, but those are what I can remember right now. Story 32. One of my favorite things about Japan was how efficient they were with space. Appliances do not need to be huge to be functional. I understand that is a necessity in many ways there, but I still like it better because it helps me not feel mentally cluttered. Story 33. How does America not have electronic transfer? You use third-party applications that charge a fee? In Canada, you just need someone's email and money is sent instantly. Story 34. Basically everything in Japan. They put every other country to shame in many ways. It is unbelievable. Story 35. I live in Finland and I have heard that many tourists like our cheese slicers. Do you not have one? Story 36. Some Japanese toilets have a sink on top, so the water from washing hands fills the tank used for flushing the toilet. Story 37. This is not new to me or Reddit, but bidets. Why don't North Americans have bidets? Those wired-in electric towel warmers I see in so many European and United Kingdom bathrooms. We need those. Story 38. No other country. But I live in Brazil, and we have something I have never seen in other countries. There are restaurants where you serve your plate from a buffet and pay for the weight of the food. Story 39. In Icelandic pools, they have spinning machines that operate on compressed air. You can put your bathing suit and towel in them to dry or at least remove most of the water quickly. Why have I not seen them anywhere else? Story 40. Any lingering belief in American exceptionalism ended when I discovered that people in other parts of the world clean themselves with water instead of just using paper. Story 41. This one is less exciting than many others, but I bought a bottle of Coca-Cola in London. When I opened it, I realized there was a small piece of plastic that held the lid to the neck of the bottle, so you do not have to hold it. I cannot believe we do not do that in the United States. It is such a tiny detail, but it feels like an obvious improvement when you think about it. Story 42. Pre-cut mixed vegetables that you can throw directly into the pan. For some reason, that is not available where I live. You can only buy 1 kilogram of each vegetable you want to eat, and then you have to clean and cut it yourself. If you are one person, you have to eat your 1 kilogram of vegetables before you can buy the next 1 kilogram of another vegetable, or it will spoil. Story 43. Great cycling infrastructure in the Netherlands. Prioritizing people, not cars. Unfortunately, I live in Australia. Story 44. In Japan, the public bathroom stalls are completely private. Doors go all the way to the ground. There is no gap on the sides. It is extremely private. However, many people in the United States cannot seem to comprehend the idea of keeping a public place clean for others. Story 45. In Taiwan, traffic lights on major roads have countdown timers showing how much time is left on a green light or a red light. Similarly, Denmark has traffic lights that turn yellow before they turn red, but also turn yellow to indicate that you are about to get the green light. It seems very efficient. Everywhere should implement this. Story 46. Public bathroom stalls with no door gaps and walls that extend all the way down to the floor. Roadway lines that are reflective, visible clearly in the dark or rain, and that do not come off when snowplows are in use. Story 47. In Germany, when there is traffic on highways, people automatically leave room in the middle of the road for emergency services. It is easy to do, so I wonder why that is not universal. Story 48. The Japanese are way ahead of the United States when it comes to bedding. Futons are less expensive, less cumbersome, more versatile, and more comfortable than our clunky mattresses and box springs. Futons also offer a better variety of design aesthetics than a mattress and box spring. Story 49. A reliable and affordable high-speed intercity rail network. My Australian mind can only dream of such a thing. Story 50. Clean, modern public toilets. I have been to Japan a few times, and those public toilets are amazing. I need to go back to try the one-way glass wall ones. On a side note, having been to some Japanese music festivals, it seems that they have no problem setting up men's bathrooms so that women line up looking directly into the men's bathroom. Very odd. Story 51. Stadiums with a good subway or rail system right next to them, so you do not have to deal with traffic congestion after a game. I went to Seoul World Cup Stadium. The subway station is less than 200 feet away from the stadium. Story 52. Traffic lights warn you of upcoming traffic lights in Greece. They flash orange and are placed a few meters before the actual traffic light. It is a good idea. Story 53. This is random, but I play GeoGuessr and see many things that should be better known. My personal favorite, seen all over South America, is a raised garbage bag holder in front of houses. It is like a metal basket on a 3-foot-high pole that keeps the garbage away from probably roaming dogs. It is also easier to grab by passing garbage trucks. Story 54. In Argentina, traffic lights light up yellow before they turn from red to green. If you are approaching a red light but the yellow light next to it lights up, it is about to turn green and you do not have to stop completely. The yellow light turns on at the same time as the other light, either red or green. Story 55. My father received free phone service because he was an older adult who had a heart attack. This was in the 1990s. Story 56. Road work, such as painting, filling potholes, and putting new pavement, is being done at night rather than during the day. It makes more sense to work on the roads when people are not using them instead of during rush hour. Story 57. Large containers are used for different types of recycling such as plastic, glass, cardboard, and organic waste. The truck comes to pick up the containers and empties the waste into the truck. Story 58. In Cuba, post-secondary education is free. If you want to do something that requires a master's or doctorate degree, you have to pass an entrance exam. Story 59. Australian tomato sauce, ketchup, packets. What is wrong with the rest of the world? The design is elegant, simple, and they are a dream to use. Once you have used one, you can never go back. Story 60. Holidaying in Asia is where I discovered bidets. Why don't we have these not just in hotels but in public toilets, shopping centers, and restaurants everywhere? Story 61. Japan has public trash cans and vending machines on almost every corner. Walking down a small quiet alley, there is a vending machine at the intersection. Need to throw something away? You know there is a trash can within a 2-minute walk. Story 62. Nowhere in Europe can you find window screens. You either let the cooler air in at night along with mosquitoes, or you sleep in a hot, mosquito-free room. Story 63. Nice restaurants with good affordable food in airports. Why is United States airport food so expensive and often terrible? Story 64. European soda bottles have caps attached to the rings. Once the seal is cracked, the cap stays attached to the ring on the bottle. This prevents the cap from being dropped and rolling away, and you can still replace the cap. There is no idea why they are not used in America. Story 65. The windows in Europe can open like a door, open like a vent, or be closed. Those are the best. Story 66. Some roundabouts would be nice. Not the large, intimidating ones like the one with 5 in England somewhere. A normal roundabout. Story 67. In Shanghai, their subway platforms have large plexiglass walls to prevent people from falling or jumping onto the tracks. It is surprising that we still do not have this feature in New York. Story 68. I look at the United States every day and think, how does literally every country in the world not have a population that panders to idiots like that? Story 69. Not my story, but a cousin of mine who was born in the United States. He was delighted at how fast bank transfers work here in Mexico, even between different banks. I walked him to the nearest ATM to transfer money for a payment. When he asked if the payment would be validated in 24 or 48 hours, I stared at him strangely and told him that if it was not already reflected, it would be a couple of hours at most. He looked like he did not believe me but did not argue. Almost exactly an hour later, he received the confirmation email that his payment was received, and his eyes literally shone with joy. That was the day I learned that apparently not only are Americans used to waiting for wire transfers, but that our national bank developed one of the fastest e-commerce systems, and this system is shared with most of the country's banking systems. Sorry if it sounds like I am showing off. I am used to people comparing us negatively to almost every country, so that was a pleasant surprise. On a lesser note, he and other relatives also like that online banking and cards have more security here. Nowadays, all cards have chips, and you have to use your PIN for every purchase unless you manually change your settings. Your bank app must have location access to even allow you to log in. Story 70. I visited China a couple of years ago. I never really considered China as a country that places strong emphasis on safety, but I used the subway in both Shanghai and Hong Kong. There were walls with sliding doors between the trains and the platform. I can't believe that the United States has never tried to retrofit something like that. Also, I saw some traffic lights that had a countdown to when they would turn green again. Story 71. In Japan, the heated toilet seats with built-in bidets and sound masking features made me wonder why more countries do not have them. They are ultra-clean, comfortable, and surprisingly energy efficient. Story 72. In China, Shanghai, there seemed to be a dish service that would deliver dishes or sets including dish, bowl, cup, and silverware in shrink wrap to restaurants. While I did not see the full cycle, I presume the restaurant would clear the table and send the dirty or simply rinsed dishes back to the service, similar to laundry. This seems incredibly simple and convenient. Why does the United States not have this? Also in China, electric vehicles are available for account rental, almost like Lime scooters. This is a smart approach, but Americans love their personal vehicles. Story 73. Fresh food served daily. Found in every country I visited. On my first trip to Brazil, I gained 15 pounds in less than a month. I attribute it largely to the avocado pudding I was served daily, sometimes 2 portions at a time, along with the inexpensive, delightful, and numerous churrascarias. Who could predict that a semi-translucent, pale green, amorphous substance would become the bane of my waistline? And the coffee, pure nectar every day, all day. For the longest time, I did not understand why I had difficulty sleeping. And those noisy BAME-T6 birds in the morning. Story 74. It annoys me that unlike many European countries, my own country does not have an underground subway system. Story 75. It's such a small thing, but in Japan many restaurants give you a wet wipe or a warm towel before your meal. I really miss them. It is so convenient to just wipe your hands and face instead of going to the bathroom to wash your hands. Story 76. China, doing things like getting train tickets, movie tickets, and paying bills with 2 applications, Alibaba Pay and WeChat, and having trash and recycling bins everywhere. Story 77. Toddler roads. I live in Cuenca, Ecuador, where there is a big play area for toddlers on their little bikes and cars. It has roads, road signs, and stop signs. There are toy buildings and even a mini tram. All the mothers bring their toddlers there to ride around. It is adorable, safer than a sidewalk, and keeps the noise in the neighborhood down. Why don't we have these in the United States? Story 78. Needing a personal identification number with your chip-enabled credit card. Anyone can use my card here in America. You do not even have to sign anything anymore. Toilet stall doors that go to the floor and have a vacant or occupied indicator on the door. Story 79. Nano-hydroxyapatite in Japanese toothpaste helps rebuild the teeth, making them denser. A study was done on a cow's tooth, with one placed in nano-hydroxyapatite and the other in fluoride. The nano-hydroxyapatite worked much better. Canada should add it to toothpaste. Story 80. Spain high-speed rail, France high-speed rail, Switzerland high-speed rail, Taiwan high-speed rail. United States of America, no high-speed rail. Story 81. Okay, I have to be that guy for a moment. It is not free healthcare, it is universal. Yes, it is infinitely better than our flawed death-for-profit system, but let us be more honest. Story 82. A train system that works and a high-speed train that runs through basically the whole country. America would never. Story 83. European healthcare systems provide high-quality care without patients worrying about bankruptcy. Story 84. I live in the United States and went to the Netherlands for work at the end of last year. The things I liked most were tax included in the sticker price in stores, no tipping at restaurants, servers bringing the credit card scanner to your table instead of running off with your card, and bathroom stalls with walls and doors that provide privacy instead of large gaps. What I liked least were the roads and driving. It is great that mass transit and walking were primary considerations, but it meant roads were often narrow and confusing, making it hard to ensure you were in the driving lane and not the walking or trolley lane. Story 85. Free speech. Internal free trade. National pride based on something substantive instead of just not being a specific other country. Story 86. Healthcare during the 2 years working in London as an American expatriate. They have a healthcare system that helps people who need medical attention without the patient risking bankruptcy. Remarkable. Story 87. Simple booking of train tickets with transparent pricing in Spain. Only selling as many tickets as there are seats in Italy. Story 88. Japan has liquid scanners for their domestic flights. You do not need to dump out your water or adhere to the 100 milliliter rule. Story 89. Free water like in Rome. We have public water fountains here, but it seems I would get sick the moment I drink from them. Story 90. Public art is essential, like air and water. There should be a public square every 3 to 5 blocks with benches, flowers, and sculptures. The sides of buildings should feature art. People should have art in front of their houses. It was in Ecuador where I realized how impoverished American lives are. Sure, healthcare, transportation, and education are all great, but art made me so happy. Story 91. High-speed rail. We dread high-speed rail in Australia considering our cities are so far apart. Additionally, domestic flights can be much more expensive than international flights. Story 92. Free childcare is available when both parents are working. It is provided from age 1 and delivered in the local community. It makes much more sense for the staff of one nursery to provide childcare while all the parents focus on their jobs. Career breaks for parenting are one of the main contributors to the gender pay gap, career progression gap, and pension gap. Story 93. Split the difference then. But yes, it would be nice if the water was either already there or fresh as you sit down without having to ask. Even when having alcohol with dinner, it is still nice to have water in between. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.